Hello everyone, happy Friday. Today we are going to learn about progressive supranuclear palsy. And I created this video for the future people who will be taking NCS. This will be a video that will contain a bunch of information about PSP. And for all of us who maybe don't know what PSP is, this will be a great resource. So I got this information from a book. I will list the name of the book in the caption. So we're going to start with progressive supranuclear palsy. What? So the first time I had a patient with PSP, I never heard PSP before. I had to research it because I was like, what is this? So here it is. So this is a disorder that is considered one of those Parkinsonian or Parkinson plus syndromes. So this is a neurodegenerative disorder that affects movement and ocular mobility. Okay. So now here's a little disclaimer of, well, not disclaimer, but what I'm going to say, some of you might agree, some of you might not, but when I meet someone with a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, I'm always kind of like in the lookout for something else that might prompt me to think this might be something else that might not be Parkinson's disease. Because a lot of the patients with hypokinetic disorders are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and not all of them are really Parkinson's disease. So just wanted to throw that out there. Anytime I see someone with a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, I'm always looking out for the cardinal symptoms and, kind of having my little alert, like, okay, I'm going to kind of see if I find something else. Okay. So now, the most common group of Parkinsonian patients is categorized clinically as, like I said, Parkinson plus disorders or Parkinsonian plus disorders. So, and they are also considered to have multiple system degeneration. And we'll talk about, more specific a diagnosis, multiple system atrophy in the next video. But PSP was first described in 1964 by, I'm going to have to read the names because I don't know the names, Steele, Richardson, and Olszewski. Okay, so this syndrome was called Steele-Richardson-Olszewski syndrome because, it reflected the combined names of these scientists. Now, they published a paper that distinguished this condition from Parkinson's disease. Okay, so the diagnosis of PSP, and we're going to be talking about gait, about balance, about vision, about other things, but the diagnosis of PSP must be considered or should be considered. Now, I know we don't diagnose, but, we sometimes refer back, right? Should be considered in any patient with progressive Parkinsonism and disturbance of ocular mobility. Okay? Now, in a review, which I'll put the reference in the caption, they reviewed 126 patients with PSP. And the most common presentations were unsteadiness of gait, frequent falling, monotonous speech, loss of eye contact, slowness of movement and of mentation, sloppy eating habits, and non-specific visual difficulty. Okay, so now here I'm going to start by talking about more like categories. So we'll start with gait and balance. So in general, the most disabling symptom from PSP, it's related to balance and gait impairment. Okay, so just to put it in like perspective. So the average period of onset of symptoms to the first fall in PSP average is about 16.8 months, okay? In Parkinson's disease is 108 months, okay? 42 months in multiple system atrophy, okay? 54 months in Lewy body dementia, and 40.8 months in vascular Parkinsonism. And again, for PSP, it was 16.8 months. So balance and gait impairment, it's really sometimes the first thing that really comes up, okay? And guess what? We are the ones treating this problem. So now this marked instability could be related to visual vestibular impairment. We are experts, okay? Axial rigidity, okay, and bradykinesia. They also present with loss of postural reflexes and all those things we're gonna touch base right now. So now, gait. In contrast to the short shuffling, stoop posture, narrow base, flex knees that we typically see in Parkinson's disease, people with PSP will walk with a stiff, broad base gait with a tendency to have their knees and their trunk extended and their arms slightly abducted. Okay, so it differs, okay? Now, primary progressive freezing or pure akinesia with gait freezing might be the initial or only symptom in PSP, okay? Now, balance, loss of postural reflexes, loss of insight, particularly of like inability to predict performance. So here we're talking about anticipatory awareness, anticipatory reactive, postural control. So this is a common feature in PSP, but also in frontotemporal dementia and cortical basal ganglionic degeneration. Vision. So hear me out. So this is a key, okay? So along with postural instability, they present with what they call supranuclear ophthalmoparesis, which means they have difficulty or paralysis of downward gaze, okay? So this is one of the most important and distinguishing signs of PSP. AKA, they have difficulty looking down, okay? So about 1/3 of patients with PSP would also complain of blurry vision, diplopia, eye discomfort, and sometimes they lose their ability to maintain eye contact, okay? And sometimes they have involuntary persistence of ocular fixation. So they're fixated on something, but it's involuntary, okay? And here we go for some vestibular experts, the slowing of horizontal and vertical saccades, it's very prominent, and impaired optokinetic nystagmus, okay? Now, let's talk about other things. So this was very interesting to me, that a lot of people with PSP have dystonia. Now, the most common form of dystonia is what they call blepharospasm, which just means abnormal contraction of the eyelid muscles. So there's involuntary contraction of the orbicularis oculi, so all this, okay, producing blepharospasm. Now, they also present with apraxia of the eyelid. So these lid abnormalities are due to involuntary supranuclear inhibition of the muscle levator palpebrae. So these are similar to the phenomena of freezing. So it's like lid freezing, and they actually call it lid freezing or focal eyelid dystonia. Interesting, right? So other things that I thought they were interesting were that they also present with progressive dysphagia and which causes most patients to modify their diets. Some patients are required or might need to get a feeding gastrostomy tube to just maintain, the adequate nutrition. So combine that chewing difficulties with inability to look down, plus some poor hand coordination, because some of them might have some abnormalities in their cerebellum, not all of them, okay? But some studies have shown some cerebellar abnormalities. That's why they have hand coordination problems. They might be described as sloppy eaters, okay? And last thing, what causes PSP? And a lot of it is idiopathic PSP. And if it's not idiopathic, the second most common cause of PSP is multi-infarct state, okay? Now, the findings of CT or MRIs of patients with PSP really distinguish a part of the brain that is involved and distinguishes PSP from other Parkinsonian plus syndromes like MSA. So the findings in the CT or MRI really pinpoint to generalized brainstem, specifically the midbrain atrophy and atrophy of frontal temporal lobes. So PSP can be differentiated from MSA, multiple system atrophy, because of the marked atrophy in the midbrain, particularly the dorsal midbrain. So this is it's key in their imaging. And if you really dig deeper into the research for PSP, you will find that they mention other signs, like when they read the imaging, so like the bird sign, the hummingbird sign, so all these interesting signs that you might see in the imaging. I did not dig that deep, okay, but just wanted you to know that there's other things in the imaging that might tell you, this might be PSP. So I really hope this was helpful for those of you that don't know about PSP or wish to learn more about PSP. So I really hope you guys learned something new, and I will see you next time to talk about multiple system atrophy. Bye.